Yo, mi gente, ya ustedes saben que lo que, bienvenido a otro episodio de Segundo Idioma a través de su canal aquí en Estamos Unidos. Mi nombre es Marino, ya ustedes saben, representando en la casa. Tengo el hombre detrás de los controles, al Emi hoy, ya ustedes saben que lo que. Dime, Emi, ¿cómo te fue tu fin de semana hoy?
La verdad muy bien, movido
Ok,
como siempre, nunca, nunca dejando de trabajar.
pero un poquito calmado, me imagino, también.
Sí, sí,
Ah,
un
bueno, eso
poquito
es lo
calmado
importante.
ahora por la tarde, pero movido como siempre.
Eso es lo importante. No, muchacho, yo me lo pasé el domingo, yo estaba en la parada dominicana, ya tú sabes, representando y haciendo lo que uno hace. Y felicidades a mi gente. Oh, quería darle un special shout out a Marilady Paulino, que ganó la medalla de oro en los Juegos Olímpicos en la carrera de 400 metros. Felicidades a ella, un orgullo a la comunidad dominicana y a la comunidad latina. Es muy importante y esa representación vale muchísimo, muchísimo, muchísimo. Pero hoy tenemos tremendo programón, ya ustedes saben, tenemos a la gente aquí dura, la gente bacana. Tengo un pana que ya ustedes saben, tengo más de 10 casi 15 años conociéndolo y es pana mío full. Déjame hacerte una pregunta. ¿Tú sabes algo más o menos del hospitality o lo
No,
tuyo es el enfoque de...
realmente nuevo para el término es realmente nuevo.
Claro, claro. Entonces nosotros vamos a hablar un poquito de eso, vamos a hablar un poquito de comunidad, vamos a hablar un poquito de todo, porque aquí lo importante es nosotros llegarnos a conocer y hacer esa mejor plataforma. Para mis oyentes leales, que sí quiero dejarles saber, primeramente quiero darle las gracias por su tiempo, que eso siempre es lo más importante para nosotros. Como siempre, denle like, suscriben, comenten, que sin ustedes, como les digo toda la semana, sin ustedes nosotros no somos nadie. Nosotros necesitamos a ustedes como oyentes, como seguidor y como todo eso. Pero, nada más y nada menos, vamos a hacer la introducción de nuestro guest. Él es experto en hospitality, alguien que sí se ha enfocado en su comunidad y en construir y hacer cosas importantes. Tengo el pana mío, Oscar, in the building. Welcome. Bienvenido.
Muchas gracias, gracias por tenerme aquí.
Claro, claro, papi. Y quiero dejarles saber a nuestros oyentes que sí vamos a empezar, que la mayoría va a ser en inglés, la mayoría del interview, porque nosotros somos dos neoyorquinos latinos,
Se
pero
me traba, se me
ya
traba.
no es que cualquiera se la traba, porque es que lo que pasa es que el español uno lo aprendió en la calle, fue, ¿no?
Tú sabes, hay cosas que se me olvidan y
Yeah.
si me emociono,
For sure.
o sea,
Olvídate.
forget it, bro.
Yeah, ¿viste? So, yo, first things first, man. Let's crack these open. You know what I'm saying? He
Yes.
brought beautiful gifts. We appreciate all our gifts from all our guests. We got us some modelos. You already know. The finest. I always say that these is like top 3 like store brand.
Bro, absolutely.
Like this has got to be like top 3 beer that you could buy.
This is basically like Budweiser to Hispanics.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
sí,
this is-
en muchas circunstancias. ¿Not Corona?
Corona is Corona. Corona is Corona. At this point, though, the Modelo can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hell yeah.
It's just like a Coors Light or a Bud Light. You know what I'm
Can't beat
saying?
it,
You can't
man.
beat it,
For
no,
sure,
Yes.
man.
Salud.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers,
Salud.
Yes, sir.
Gracias por venir a la programación. Pásame,
you.
pásame el vasito tuyo, Emi. Hay que darte salud también. Claro, ven acá con el mate. So, yo. Oh, first and foremost, man, I appreciate having you on the show, man. I think,
Appreciate you,
it's important for me. The same as my mission statement for those of you who haven't heard it. It's the first time hearing it in English. The mission statement of the show, the mission statement of the program is for us to highlight Latinos who are doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not always like leaders of industry. It's not always like these people who are like these experts and who've made it and who've had like 1 million followers and made $10 million on social media. Like, it's for me, it's the nitty gritty. It's what represents our city. It's the backbone of our city. It's the people who literally are in the trenches, like doing their thing and making sure that things move forward and that things grow. And I feel like you exemplify that, and I feel like it's very important to have people like you on this show.
that.
Real New Yorkers,
Appreciate that.
actual
Thank
New
you.
Yorkers who live in the city and invest their time and invest themselves into the city. But you wasn't always a New Yorker, so let's talk about your background a little
That's
bit.
facts, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let the world know who
It's like
you are, where you
before I
from.
get stoned.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Let's start with the back. Let's
Yeah.
start the veggies first, and then we'll get into
Yeah.
meat and bones of the
Yeah, I mean,
conversation.
I'm from North Philly, man. I grew up in North Philly,
Oh, word.
predominantly Puerto Rican and black neighborhood. I'm from Colombian parents.
Okay.
Me and my mother came to the country when I was 4.
Oh, so you was born in Colombia.
I was born in
All
Colombia.
right,
And
cool.
I came to Philly. Well, yeah, I came to Philly when I was like 4.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, like we'd always come to New York when I was a kid, and
Facts.
I always like kind of knew I wanted to live here. It was so different from like Philly was just like it almost felt country sometimes. But from youth, I always knew that like something, I knew I was Spanish. But like I wasn't fitting in with the Spanish people that I was growing up with. Like all my friends was Puerto Rican growing up.
Oh man,
and
yeah.
I was
yeah.
like, my mom talked different.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what you're saying, but I don't really know what you're saying. And so like definitely like the immigrant factor played a big part in kind of like my identity growing up, man. Trying to like, I want to say mask it, but I was trying to always assimilate to the people around me, right? So like the Puerto Rican and black culture in Philadelphia.
I mean, it's easy
from jump. Yeah, that was like those were the people that kind of accepted me right away. And so, yeah, man, I came to Philly. I came to New York 2007. Almost right away, kind of like got right into the cooking thing. It was something I fell into. I wasn't really like planning on doing that.
Okay.
And that's where me and you met.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was we actually around the corner.
Yeah.
That's funny enough.
Yeah.
Funny story. We met in cooking school. You know that school's closed. You know that school doesn't exist anymore.
Crazy
right?
part about it is that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
That story is crazy.
We're gonna
man.
save that for episode
that story
2,
is
man.
Crazy, yeah.
But yeah, so Oscar and I, we actually met while we were both kind of doing our rounds in hospitality. We met at an internship right around here, right around the corner at the MTV building. Yeah. So it's kind of funny now that I guess I'm a content creator because it's kind of like a full circle moment for me, as well as for him. But you have mentioned, you kind of growing up in Philly and kind of like that culture clash. I mean, you were 4 years old and like you were coming to a new city, but you knew it wasn't like the city because you knew Philly didn't feel like it didn't have that aura that New York has in a sense,
Yeah, I figured that out pretty early. You know what I'm saying? I'd say probably by the time I was like 10 or 11, I knew that like going to New York was like special.
Yeah.
Going to downtown Philly was.
Did you have family up here like while you were still living in Philly?
Yeah. We've always had family up here. My cousin lived up here when I was young. He kind of moved away like after 9/11. He actually used to work down in He worked in the South Tower.
Oh, okay, wow.
Ironically, didn't go to work that day, but
good, beautiful.
Yeah, we've always kind of come up here. My mom always had like business to take care of, or like because we was, going through immigration and stuff. We'd have to come up here for the consulate all the time.
Oh yeah, facts.
So countless Saturdays coming up here and not listening to my mother, just like getting lost.
Yeah, man, and it's easy, because as a kid, you find yourself to be very impressionable and to kind of like find and trying to just find your own path and trying to find yourself, because it's like you said, it's easy to like assimilate. It's easy to kind of just put yourself in a position where you're just trying to grow and kind of like find that identity. Now, you had mentioned earlier, well, not earlier, like 30 seconds ago, but you had mentioned something that was like pretty cool, and it was like having to like be in the consulate and at those appointments with your mom. Now, did she like know English like full on, or did she not know English and you had to be like the translator, or because that's something that like kind of resonates with me, so I just wanted to see if
Yeah, definitely there was times growing up like a lot of it was like being on the phone with like the phone company or like the cable company and then trying to explain something to her she can't understand.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
when we was in person, man, we was going at anything the constant. My mom would just be like, "Shut up,
shut up,
no digas nada." You know what I'm saying? And just be over there. So I would just be kind of left to my own. My mother, even though she didn't speak like great English, my mother's an incredibly smart woman, and she figured it out, man. Like she has a really strong Spanish accent still.
Yeah, okay.
But she speaks perfect. You know
perfect.
What I'm saying? So
perfect,
like she ain't never really need me to defend her or nothing like that. My mom's she's
a
boss.
hustler.
Yeah,
that's it. She a hustler.
She
she reminds me, that kind of resonates with my mom a little bit, just because, they it's born out of necessity. It's a situation
100%.
where the hustle kind of just figures itself out. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, you touch base about where you grew up, but like, I'm always interested in people and kind of like how they come to be and kind of how they are the person who is sitting before us. So what were some of like your early inspirations, like as far as like, because you said that you didn't touch anything that had to do with cooking or anything until like your early 20s.
Yeah.
So like what was it like growing up in Philly, like as far as like the culture clash, the fashion, the music, like what was that
Yeah,
like?
I mean, what I'll say is like, my more impressionable years, obviously like mid '90s. Philly it's pretty grimy. It's pretty gutter. It was not a very flamboyant kind of city. When it was talking about like, what was popular fashion wise, very similar to the things that was popular here. A lot of polo, you know, obviously like the Air Max and North Faces and all that stuff was. That's always been like the first thing that caught my eye when I was a kid is like clothing and sneakers.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
Polo, Air Max, like straight away. You know what I'm saying?
And it's the easiest way to kind of like
yeah.
not get made fun of and still kind of be cool.
I
while
mean,
you figuring it
even
out.
before people was making fun about clothes.
Yeah, for sure.
I remember seeing like some of like the older cats, wearing like the cookie boots and like the crazy rugby shirts and like you know what I'm saying, like the flap down hats and the polo, the goose down polos and stuff like that. And I thought that was fly. You turn on MTV at that time, and that's like what you saw on the screen.
Not even MTV. Like I always felt like the neighborhood.
Music box.
The neighborhood drug dealer to me. I always say this: the neighborhood drug dealer to me was the first fashion influencer.
That's a fact.
In any like poor neighborhood, in any neighborhood, in not just New York City, Philly, anywhere you go to. The neighborhood drug dealer was always the guy who had the flyest gear.
Easy.
He had all the coolest
Jordans
chicks.
early.
He had the Jordans early.
Yep.
Like they were really in real life. They were like the actual like fashion influencers.
The hood stars, yeah, of course.
Like and we kind of resonated with them because we wanted.
100%.
I don't know if we wanted to like sell drugs, but we definitely wanted to look like we sold drugs.
Definitely,
Just because with the money. Like,
I mean, that's something that I've always said too. Is like, yo, if I look like I sell drugs, then I feel pretty good about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about wearing like white Air Forces straight out the box.
Yo,
gray sweatpants. That to me, and a white T-shirt.
And a white tee.
You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
Like that to me is like crispy, clean. You probably got a wad of cash in your pocket.
Yeah,
selling
man.
dope. You know what I mean?
And
that's definitely, you want to look like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you want to
bro.
look like you don't work too hard for it. You feel me?
Exactly,
Yeah,
because it's just like it, and it's always kind of good to have it like in an aspirational sense because you sit here and you like, yo, like, damn, I want to get these shits. He already got them. Damn, I want to get these. He already got them.
That's
And it's
facts.
just like, and then that you don't want to be like a fan or like have that quote
you
unquote
can't be. You're
groupie
not allowed to be.
behavior.
You're not allowed to be.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to be.
like.
That's a good way to like send yourself. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like-
ain't nobody gonna listen to you. You're like a pipsqueak. Come on, get out of here.
That's
you know
a
what I'm saying?
fact. Like
You gotta be quiet, and you hoping that the old heads one day say to you, like, "I see you."
Yo, that's
You
a
know what I'm
big
saying?
fact,
Like, I
bro.
see you,
Because
young
you gotta sit there and kind of like wait your time.
Hell yeah.
And you can't really like ask them and go straight up and like, yo, where'd you cop this? Like, how much you paid? Because then they're gonna be like, yo, get this broke ass dude out of here. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna be like, man, get your own. Or like you gotta sit there and wait and like hopefully you come across it in a magazine or hopefully you like I guess in Philly they had malls, but in the city you had to wait till you came across it like in Soho or like I'm from the Bronx, so like Fordham Road, like that was where you went and that was like your culture hub and that was kind of like your central spots. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what was it like?
For us, we had the gallery in Philly.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're from Philly and you grew up around my time, you know about the gallery. The gallery is where you got everything. I mean, it was like a little mall in the middle of the city.
Okay.
But you go in there and get polo from the net. You get your jerseys and your fitted hats from Total Sport. You big in there for your Air Forces and Jordans and things like that. And my mother would send me sometimes like back to school shopping. She'd give me like $350. I'm supposed to come home with like few outfits.
A closet,
I
a
come
whole
home
closet,
with a jersey,
2 pieces.
a
That's
jersey
it.
and a
We
fitted.
ready.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
We ready. It's just, and that's one thing that's one thing I've always kind of like not a knock, but like our Latino parents, they didn't really understand.
No.
Like they didn't get that if you didn't have these sneakers, like you weren't the guy that was in the loop.
Listen.
And they'll always say it's the same thing, but it's not.
rightfully so, I understand why they feel that way.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very
Wait,
irresponsible.
elaborate. Yes.
So it's irresponsible for me as a child that I'm taking my mother's hard work and money and blowing it on one pair of shoes or one item when I could go, get to the Gap and get like several
Yeah, be
outfits for back to
responsible,
schools.
yeah.
So I get why they didn't understand, but there's just like their mindset coming into this country is just to like work hard to provide for you, to give the things that you need.
That's a fact.
When they get here, they're not paying attention to the same things that we paying attention to. Like they're not going to school. They're not seeing the importance of what it is to come to school in Jordans.
The North
You know what I'm
Face
saying?
with the straps?
or the importance of not coming to school in like some Skippies or like something from Payless. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so like. Luckily for me, my mother kind of got it pretty early that I was like, I didn't want to be made fun of. Like sneakers was always like the first thing I was like, nah, I need cool sneakers.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, she never really understood why. She just knew that
that's
it was
what
something
you
I
needed.
wanted.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, man, that's all you think about when you like, impressionable is like, yo, I got to make sure that I'm on my shit. Yeah. Because I'm not getting flamed when I get to school.
Of course
ain't no
not.
way.
It's impossible.
At least not for
like,
the things I can control. You
feel
me?
Like you know what I'm saying? Like it's already hard enough. Like, all right. So the way I see it is like there's just so many things that are like on a list of priorities in like school and middle school and high school where like actually schoolwork is not the top thing that you worried about. When you're in high school, you worried about getting fly, getting money, getting girls. You know what I'm saying? You worried about being a cool guy who doesn't go to class all the time. But you also can't be out here repeating outfits. Because it's just like, if you think about it, because the thing is I'm the type of person where I'll be like, yo, if I'm thinking about it and if I notice, then that means other motherfuckers is noticing this shit.
That's big facts, man. You definitely can't repeat outfits. Yeah, I used to have a schedule for my clothes.
Facts. That's a fact.
I literally used to have a schedule and was like, I wore that shirt last Tuesday. Can't wear it right now.
Yeah.
Gotta wait till at least next Tuesday to put that joint back.
Yo, at least.
Straight up.
Minimum.
Before you had a lot of stuff, before you had like a choice, you just had to like make sure you was at least pulling the okie doke here and there. You know what I mean? Like I used to turn things into different outfits.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
if it was a statement piece, like a jersey, that was like once or twice a month, max.
Like funny stories, and me and my boy thinking the same way.
Yeah,
back in the day. Man, we used to go half on jerseys sometimes.
Oh, y'all was jersey swapping
like
a motherfucker.
So it was like,
before the soccer players.
You had it last weekend, so let me get it this weekend.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? But $300 jersey cost us $150 each.
That Orlando Tracy McGrady.
Low key. Yeah, I remember the first one we copped was like the Sean Marion Suns joint.
Yeah,
right
facts.
when they first changed the colors, right?
Yeah.
And we spent like $1 something on it each, and we was. Trading it back and forth. We was doing the same thing with like Jordans.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like, cause that's the same thing. It's like, yo, you cop the pair of sneakers, you couldn't rock them every day.
No, you can't.
You can't do that because that's a good way to get noticed.
Yeah,
you know
you would get noticed by like Thanksgiving. Them shits was cooked.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's one thing that I've always been good at is like I would get new sneakers. I know how to rock them, but I would run home. Take them Jones off, stuff them in socks, put my old sneakers on before I go outside. I never went outside to play with my sneakers.
Yeah, you had like a whole like treatment plan and like I feel
you gotta make them last. I mean, even to this day, that's still something that I do like consciously. I never wear the same pair of sneakers 2 days in a row.
Yeah, but now it's so much different. Now there are pairs that you actually want to wear 2 days in a row, and now the accessibility that you have to these items has like dumbed it down to a point where you're just like. Fuck it. I'm the type of person like now, you have 50, 100, 200 pairs of sneakers. It's like now it's like, oh shit, I forgot I had these. And then like you kind of go through like this little fever where you wear like 2-3 days in a row and then you pack them up for another 6 months.
I gotta say I can't agree. I can't
really?
agree.
All right, cool. Respect.
I am like it's like a rule of mine. If I wear them, I can't wear them 2 days in a row. Unless I'm on vacation, and it's like the only sneakers I brought.
Yeah, for sure.
You feel me?
The white ups getting ran through.
Yeah, straight up. And they don't come home. You feel me?
Here, Luis Santiago told us that the schedule was necessary.
The what?
The schedule.
Yeah,
the schedule is critical.
Absolutely.
It wasn't necessarily a want, it was more a need. It wasn't based out of desire, it comes from survival.
Yeah. You can't get made fun of, man. You can't get made fun of. You got to be cool as hell at all times.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't come in with wrinkled t-shirts.
What?
You know what I'm saying? If you was for me, the thing that was big in high school was Guess jeans.
Oh, yeah.
So if you had the Guess jeans with the pencil pocket on the side, like, everybody wanted, like, joints that was like they had like a shiny denim, or they had the ones that had the stripes on them. I was like, nah, homie.
Nah.
You gotta cop the most like dumbed down
Dumbed
Johns
down,
so
yeah,
you
the
could wear them
basic.
more. Yeah, wear them
That's
more
a
often.
fact.
I was like, my other man, yo, he was rocking the shiny Johns. I'm like, you can't wear them shits every day,
Nah,
bro. You
bro,
know what
that
I'm
was
saying?
first day.
You can't wear them shits every day.
Man, that first day of school, it was.
Oh, it's a fashion
It
show.
was, yeah,
first day.
it was Fashion Week,
or
New
like
York,
or like the day when you come back from Easter. That was the biggest one.
Yeah, I always felt like the day after like New Year's,
Yeah.
like after Christmas
Well,
break.
That's
To me that was big because it was like, yo, all right, what did you get for Christmas?
Facts.
What did you get?
Facts.
How did you do? What sneakers did you get? And then there was always like a Christmas Jordan that came out, and if you didn't have those,
but that was the same thing with the Easter.
Yeah.
Easter used to get the All-Star game. And another thing that I found out later on was, I mean, once I grew up a little bit,
Yeah.
there's a reason why Easter outfits used to go so hard. Because everybody just started getting their tax returns.
you know,
So that's why your parents had money for Coogee.
That's
Easter.
crazy.
And
That's
money
crazy.
for Jordan.
I'm in my mid-30s and I'm just like
You know what I'm
just
saying?
now hearing about this
telling
concept,
you.
but it makes perfect sense.
It has to be. It has to be because the levels of Easter outfits in comparison to like back to school and Christmas and all that.
That's a fact.
Oh, everybody used to come back to school with Iceberg. With Coogee.
Yo,
I'm like, where's
brand new
everyone
Rockaway,
getting-
Nietzsche,
yeah.
like going crazy.
Straight up.
Going
straight up.
crazy. Wearing Jabot jeans, the Jabot jeans with the Velcro.
Big time.
Yo,
That's a big time, man.
Them shits went platinum in the hood. The
I
Pepe
never
jeans,
had a pair of them myself.
Yeah.
But I was fully in that time.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
They were a big deal.
Yeah. Because when I was coming up, elementary school, I went to elementary school in Harlem, and you know Harlem dudes,
The Flyers, right?
fly or die. That's like the Harlem thing, them cats out there always worried about fashion and shit. So I got a kind of good sense of it, and it was cool for me, man. But let's move forward a little bit. Let's talk about more like when you first got to NYC and kind of like a little bit of the differences that you noticed. Coming from Philly, obviously being from Colombia, and then going to Philly, and then now being in New York. Like what was that for you? Like when you first got here, or what was your adjustment period like when you first touched down?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Moving to New York was very refreshing. I moved away from Philly, at a time where things were pretty violent. There was the general culture in like the hood in Philly, especially like where I grew up in North Philly, like it was pretty, real masculine. You know what I'm saying? Like bad in the worst way. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Coming to New York, seeing like dudes like going out their way to get flashy and get fly and things like that. For me, it was a big, it was attractive for me. It was like, you know what I mean? And I was like, all right, it's more of a thoughtful space.
So you kind of thought to yourself like, yo, I'm not bugging if I give a fuck about this.
Yeah. No, 100%. I was like, damn, I did like purple though. You feel me?
Like purple, not that
purple's
bad.
kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. You know what I mean? Like I remember. Like Kanye coming out and like me and my best friend, man, we was like in love with him, right? We was popping the collars, right? We had like orange and pink polos and shit.
We was really doing
paper denim and all that shit, right?
Yeah, bro.
But like in Philly, that shit was kind of like hush.
Shit was lame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
for
at the time, like if you wasn't wearing like black on black State Property or Dickies and Timbs, then like they was looking at you.
You was out of touch, like you was.
They was just looking at you like
you're weird.
You weird.
Like you're a weirdo,
You're a weird dude.
for sure.
You're a weird dude. You know what I'm saying? Moving here. Met a lot of people with kind of a common interest, people that the sneaker thing wasn't like, we didn't realize it was like a thing. We was just like, yo, I met a bunch of friends that like to get jiggy and they happen to have a lot of sneakers.
I feel like the time you came, you said you came back in 07, right? You moved here full time. I feel like that around that time, like being a sneakerhead wasn't like its own like niche market. Like it was kind of like, you just collect. Like it was always like, oh, I know a dude who has a ton of pair of sneakers, but he was never called a sneakerhead.
Yeah.
He was never called a collector. He was just a dude who rock kicks.
That's a fact.
Like,
so that's kind of how, that I built my network here. So a lot of my friends that I'm still like, incredibly good friends with here.
Yeah.
We met through that commonality, like wanting to get dressed, always kind of like putting on some new kicks.
Oh, forget about it.
That was a big thing, you know what I mean? And once I moved here, man, like I didn't really have an adjustment period. It was like a duck to water.
So you kind of just hit the ground running
Yeah,
type shit.
like straight away, man.
Facts.
It was a nice feeling, man. Like I said, really refreshing. It kind of started opening my head up to like the idea that, you know, like I said, the toxic masculinity in Philadelphia at that time, Philly's come a long way since I left.
I'm sure, man.
But back then, I mean, it was like definitely the type of thing where like, you know, even like if you were like homosexual, you had to act mad hard.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was like that type of shit. Like so, you know, coming here, seeing like more people being, you know, openly like kind of like flamboyant.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Want to throw on some more colorful. You know what I mean? Things like that. The different fits of stuff.
Motherfuckers rocking pink out here. Shout out Killer
yeah.
Cam,
No,
man.
for real, for real. And so like that for me, like I said, it kind of like made me feel like, yo, you know what? I'm not bugging. I do kind of feel like I have a space here, and yeah, again, I didn't feel no need to adjust. Like I felt like I belonged as soon as I got here.
Oh,
you know
where
what I mean?
where did you first move to when you got to NYC?
When I first moved here, we moved to Jackson Heights. Me and my other best friend.
Queens.
Yeah,
Shout out Queens in the building, man. Shout out all my Queens
Queens is the
people.
best, bro. Like,
yeah, I mean,
Queens
like,
the best, man. I'm sorry.
You know, I'm from the Bronx, and the Bronx will always hold a special place in my heart. You know what I'm saying? And it'll always be, you know, home. I will die on my Bronx shield. My city, I love it. I love the people. I love the culture. I love everything. But like Queens, like you know, I used to think that whole like world's borough thing was just like a thing that like people say, like
right?
like a tagline
or
or like some shit that you see like at the gift shops when you like dip. But like, you know, obviously, you know, for those of you who aren't from New York, Bronx to Queens, that's long distance. Okay, if I'm a Bronx dude and I'm dating a chick in Queens, that's long distance. So for me, I've been living in New York my whole life, but I'm still newly discovering Queens. And like the infusion of people and culture and like races and different types of religions and like talk to me a little bit about that. Like what is it about the diversity that's in Queens and the differences that's in Queens that makes it like so like just Queens, like so universal. So,
yeah,
like,
man. I mean, that's obviously the reason why I took to Queens. So, right, like, you know, I came here. I wasn't really particular about it. My best friends from Queens at the time, it just made sense to move in there. I didn't really care. Yeah. But as soon as I got there, I was like, man, it feels like real nice. You know, like I got Colombians here, I got Dominicans here, I got Mexicans here, I got Peruvians, I got, you know, Greeks, Brazilians, Albanians, you know, Indian, Pakistani. And it's all within like a 1 mile radius, you know what I mean? Crazy. And that's just in one tiny neighborhood, you know.
Like,
and
what does that do for you? Like a culture shock?
It's
like,
you know, it's nice, man. It's a good feeling because there is just like there's micro like cultures,
communities,
you know, everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's not to say that there's no redlining. You know, they all meld together, so it's really nice. Sure. Like you could just take the train one stop on the 7, and every stop is a different like cultural hub.
That's so
you know,
crazy.
and
That's
it's
so
about
cool.
as authentic as it's gonna get in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and outside of any of those nations, there's just so much representation. You could feel like you really feel people's like, you know, need to like, you know, feed their families out there. You know, so everybody's working with intention.
Yeah, like real hard.
You know what I'm saying? Man. There's a lot. The blue collar, like the sense of blue collar workers out there is still like fully there. It's not. It doesn't feel like, you know, when you go to like downtown Brooklyn or something like that, where
for sure.
Yeah, there's like a little hustle and bustle, but it's very different. It still feels like kind of like
commercialized.
You know what I'm saying? Like buttoned up. Whereas, you know, you go to Queens, people are still, you know, trying to sell oranges on the street.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
They
like,
getting money. They trying to get to the
whatever
bag.
it
Facts.
is, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it resonates a lot with me. It made me feel like, you know, Colombian immigrants, you know, we have a place here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not abnormal. You know, you don't see that in a lot of other places. In Philly, you don't see that. You know, in Philly, you're from Philly, that's it.
Yeah.
You come to New York, you come to Queens, and it's like you're continue to like live the culture and like represent the culture that you come from. You know what I mean?
And did it like so? I know you left Colombia when you were 4. Like, did being in Queens allow you to kind of like reconnect or kind of like get back in touch with your more like Colombian side, and
Big
kind of
time.
seeing
Big time.
like your friends who are also Colombian and
Yeah.
kind of were in that same boat as you, because you told me, you had mentioned you felt a little alienated just
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you grew up mainly around Black and Puerto Rican, but like being able to go to Queens and being able to see not necessarily just people from Colombia, like people from all South America, all
Yeah.
Central America.
No, it was
Like,
definitely a big thing for me to be able to reconnect with my culture, because yeah, like you said, it's not that I felt alienated,
Yeah.
but I felt like that was, like Puerto Ricans were about as close as I could find as a people that were close, like what I
Yeah,
knew, right?
yeah.
And at that time, the only people that there's not a lot of Colombians in Philly. There are now, but when I was growing up, there was literally, if you were Hispanic, you were Puerto Rican.
You were Puerto Rican.
It's like being from LA. If you're Spanish, you're Mexican.
Yeah.
Same shit. You know
Now
what I mean?
is it that?
Now it's
there's
a little different.
bit more
Yeah,
diaspora.
but
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, growing up at that time, not really knowing the difference between me being Colombian and like my friends being Puerto Rican and nothing like
Yeah.
that. Not feeling alienated, but definitely feeling like, listen, I know I'm not Puerto Rican.
Okay.
But like, am I not? I
Am
don't
I
know.
not?
Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
that's a fact.
And then like
Because
coming here,
it's kind
yeah.
of like that sense of identity. It's kind of like, I always like to think that it's hard to find. It's hard to like. It's easy to lose yourself when you're trying to find yourself.
Facts. No,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
say that shit again, because it's
so
true.
so I tend to, I'm like a broken clock. I'm right at least twice a day. And what I said was that we tend to lose ourselves when we're trying to find ourselves. That sense of identity is like a magnet, and it attracts us, and it makes us like want to keep going, and it gets to a certain point where you kind of have to keep swimming forward in order to find yourself, instead of going back and reverting to your old ways. So did you feel like you lost yourself while you were trying to find yourself?
Yeah, I mean,
far as-
like I said, luckily it was the type of thing where, like, I was super young. I grew up with that. I didn't feel lost. I just felt like that was, like, my identity. I found a place within, like, the groups of people that I befriended. But then once I came here, my perception of, like, what it was to be Colombian and to be an immigrant, like, completely changed. Because I didn't have anything else to kind of, like, compare Colombians to, right? It was,
Yeah, for
all
sure.
I knew was either Puerto Ricans in Philly or the Colombians back home in Cali,
Yeah,
where
Cali,
my family
yeah.
is. You feel
For
me?
sure.
And so I didn't understand what it was like to be Colombian in America
Yeah.
till I came here. And here, immediately
Immediately.
made friends with so many Colombians, and Colombians that was having the same experiences as me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
for sure.
saying? Like the
It's-
exact same experiences, and I was just like, but you still Colombian though.
Yeah,
and I was just like, okay,
but I'm
you know?
like, and
You know what I'm saying? Like, cause like back then, we like, for example, like I had a barber, and like my best friend will know about this, right?
Yeah.
A barber. His name was Joe, and he knew I wasn't Puerto Rican,
yeah,
but he used to call me Puerto Rican Oscar all the time. And it's just like,
Yeah,
but I like,
facts.
all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? I guess I get it, but then like, am I not Colombian, bro? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard.
How
it was
old were
hard.
you when he told you this?
I mean, he was my barber from when I was like 12
Oh,
up until I
shit.
was like in my early 20s. Like
So
even
he told you this as a teenager?
yeah.
As you were having a self-identity crisis that
Nah,
all
but
teenagers
that's the
have.
thing is, at that time I wasn't having the
Yeah.
crisis. I was who I was.
Yeah, you
right?
was locked in.
and that was it. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's a
saying?
fact.
But then here making all those like different Colombian friends, them having the same kind of experiences, plus also kind of acting the way I did, dressing the way I did,
Yeah.
looking the way I did. For me, it was like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
I got to tap back in.
Yeah,
So
for
all of a
sure.
sudden, next thing you know, I'm like hitting my mom up. I'm like, Mommy, I need to know more about this Colombian food.
Yeah.
And like I need to hear more Colombian music.
Yeah.
And like I need to go home. Like right
Like,
now.
I need
You know
a
what I'm saying?
culture
Like I
shock.
need to
Yeah,
yeah. And it like after that I was like, yeah, man, I'm proud to be Colombian. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's not like, where before, like I said, it was like a thing where I would be like, yeah, I'm Colombian, but I'm not that type of Colombian.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like now I was like, no, yo soy colombiano, cabrón. You
Yeah,
feel me?
claro,
Like, straight
claro.
up.
And then it's just like, so wait, so you moved to NYC and you left your mom's back home in Philly.
Yep.
Now, obviously I know how, we spoken off camera, and I know how close you are with your mom, and I know how important that relationship is between y'all. Like, being, in this like infusion of culture, and this infusion of like you kind of rediscovering yourself through your Colombian culture, was it kind of like not was it like a bad thing, or not did it suck, but like, did it make it a little bit more difficult for you to kind of like find yourself, while you were trying to get your mom's advice, but she wasn't here,
No, of course,
like
of course.
like on a day-to-day basis?
For sure, for sure. I mean, and also, I mean, the thing is, like, me and my mother are very close, but me and her have very different kind of like outlooks on life. We have very different, just our life missions are very different.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Whereas I had at least the flexibility in life to do what I wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
My mother was always on some shit where like she was like, well, you're either gonna be a lawyer or a doctor, so decide now. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Growing up, it was like a lot of disappointment when it's like, oh well, I like graffiti and I like art and I like rap music and I like fashion. You know what I'm saying? Not even fashion, but just like, well, why are your pants so big? And why your shirt so long? Or like, why do you have to grow your hair out?
Yeah.
My mother would say things like, oh, you're gonna be listening to that music when you're 40 and this and that. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So yeah, very different.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
me and her have very different ways of looking at life and experience and things like that.
Yeah.
But definitely is not the easiest thing having her not wanting to be here because she hates being in New York. My mother is a hermit. She
Really?
don't like noise. She don't like people at her crib. She like peace and quiet at all times.
She seems like an outgoing person, but maybe that's just the side that you bring
it's cap.
out of her.
That's cap though. Yeah,
Okay, that's just the side that she's
she's real good at talking crap, but like she likes to be at home. She likes to not be bothered. You know what I'm saying? But the good thing about it is that we keep a really close relationship. I talk to my mother about anything that matters. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm having like a trial and tribulation, if it's something with work, a relationship, friendships, things like that. I always run everything past my mom. Like she's definitely, always been there to kind of like make sure that I have a good guiding hand.
That's a fact.
But once I turned an adult, my mother was just like, I can't say nothing.
Yeah.
She's just happy that I'm not like, didn't turn out to be like a degenerate for real.
Yeah, for sure. Because the thing is like they see you grow up and they see you like go through all these fads and all these kind of like fashion trends or all these like kind of ways of being, and then like they think that like their disposition is that like who you are as a kid reflects who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying? And my mom, she didn't think those things, but she always kind of thought to herself like, oh, he's a good kid. He'll be all right. He'll figure himself out. But that's enough about me, man. Let's get back to you. So you mentioned that when you got to NYC, we're going to get to the hospitality portion because obviously, that's one of the reasons why we actually brought you on the show, because we want to speak on your expertise. You said that you had started hospitality, and obviously, I know a bit of your story, how you ended up. But if you could just tell our viewers, obviously, how did you start with hospitality and where has your journey taken you up until this point?
I mean, everything started in the kitchen. It was a type of thing where, again, I got pressured into going into culinary school.
Kind of like to do something with your life type situation?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel
An ex-girlfriend at the time, plus my mother, they're like, yo, you need to go back to school. I didn't want to go back to college. I hated college.
Yeah, shit is
so,
overrated.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, I like to cook at home. I love to eat. My ex-girlfriend at the time, she's like, you like to cook?
Yeah.
So, I took a shot in the dark. I said, you know what? It doesn't hurt. I'll take the loan out. I'll do the schooling. Like, what's the worst that could happen? At the time,
facts.
I was pretty okay. Like, I had some money saved up, so I wasn't, super stressed out. And I did it. I didn't love it. I graduated. I wasn't trying to do that. At one point, I kind of felt like my back was against the wall, and I had no choice but to take like straightforward work. Mm-hmm. So I started getting to it. It's maybe like 6 or 7 months after I graduated culinary school, I got my first job.
You got your first culinary job?
Yeah.
Okay, and
it
how
took
was
me
that?
a minute.
What were you doing?
My very first job was at a restaurant that's no longer open. It was called Travertine downtown on Kenmare.
Okay.
And it was cool, man. It was I met a chef there named Manuel Trevino, who ended up being kind of like a guide for me. He brought me up through a couple of bigger restaurants, but I started there just kind of like making salads and whatnot, and was good with that chef, and that chef brought me to his new restaurant, and I met a bunch of chefs there, and those chefs brought me to other restaurants.
Yeah.
I went from like working in like kind of more finer dining, like opening Lavo and things like that. and gaining a lot of technical experience, and that's when I kind of started to like, you know, really get interested in it. And once I got interested in it, I started devoting myself to it, and I kind of started learning how to like put my nose down and grind out work. And that was really hard too, man, because even, you know, it got even harder when you get devoted to it, and then you get in trouble for, oh, this didn't come out right, or that you know what I'm saying? Kinda... So like there were a lot of nights where like I call my mom after work and be like, Mom, I don't think I could do this.
Some bullshit,
like,
yeah, facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like crying to my mother. And then one day it just clicked, man. It was like, yo, you just need to like center yourself and just like focus, and like whatever people say to you, you take it with a grain of salt and you move forward. And that changed a lot in me, and it kind of like, it turned the knob, you know, and then I went from this like kind of like wet behind the ears, like, you know, cook, to like I was started to absorb everything that people would say to me, and all of a sudden I would put things into action and I would see the difference right away. And so, you know, from there I started, you know, meeting more people in the food industry. You know, I met the guys that started Calexico, and through those guys I got to learn like a lot of like what it's like to grow a food business, because they were growing and they were like learning along the way, so they allowed me to kind of be on their side while that was happening. So that was a big part. And then, you know, I started running my own kitchens, and next thing you know, I'm, you know, just kind of more or less commanding all of a restaurant. You know, moving to present day, I've now, you know, more or less narrowed my skill set down into just overall general hospitality. Okay. I've learned that there's nothing more important or more gratifying than, you know, having somebody tell you that they had a great service, that they had a great meal, that they can't wait to come back. You know
that shit feels outstanding. You can make a sandwich for somebody, and if they're like, "Yo, this sandwich is fire," you're like, "Thank you."
And those are that's like the main principle to this whole thing is, you know, you have to be all about your guests. You know, that it has to feel authentic. It has to feel genuine. People need to feel like they really are wanted in their space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, that kind of just started becoming my patent. You know what I mean? I started working at Ame Leon Dor for a bit.
Finally, somebody, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was waiting for him to say this because I didn't know how to pronounce the fucking thing. So I was just calling it ALD, you know, ALD, shout outs to ALD. They do make a lot of fly ass gear.
They do, man.
Shout out to Teddy, man. The work that them dudes are putting in with the New Balance, brand, and them as an aesthetic, as a New York thing. It's cool to see, you know, people grow from its inception. I started rocking that shit like 2016, I think, around that time.
I remember when I first started working over there, you was on it like heavy already. Sure. You might have got it on it before I did. To be honest with you.
I'll tell you this much. I'll give you a little history. I first copped ALD when they were doing collabs with Kith.
That's early days.
When they were trying to get their name out with Kith, like, and it was cool to kind of see two Queens brands, because I didn't really know about the brand, but I always like to read the About Us page, and I always thought that was kind of cool. But I mean, not to sidetrack, but yeah, what was some of the work that you were doing with ALD with Ame Leon Dor?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about growing with those guys, you know, was, again, it was a brand that was kind of smart. It was small still, starting to emerge, and kind of being tasked with creating community now, as opposed to just operating the food and beverage space. So, you know, it was nice to be able to use my food brain to like make sure that, you know, the food and the cafes and all that are running properly, that, you know, we're up to code, that, you know, the food and the drink is up to par, but then also kind of being tasked with creating the people that are going to surround the space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of
Whether
course.
it's employees, friends and family, and then also just the way that, you know, all employees treat the average customer. You know, the one-off customer. You know what I mean? And like the importance of creating positive experience always. You know, so that was a really was a big one for me, to be able to kind of like use my skill set and like teach people how to like, I mean, usher this thing in.
Yeah, of course. And it's not an easy transition to transition from back of house to front of house, because you know, back of house, your main focus is on what? Cleanliness, putting out food on time, presentation, temperatures, you know, stoves and ingredients and receiving single direction from one person who is either your sous or your chef or your executive chef, and it's kind of like that process. But into going into front of house, where you have to, now you're somewhat of a leader in what, not somewhat, but now you're a leader in that position, and you have to sit here and you have to listen to not only your servers, you have to listen to your bussers, you have to listen to your hosts, and most importantly, you have to listen to your guests. What are some of the things that, or what was important for you as far as your mentality when you needed to transition from back of house to front of house?
I think the most important thing was learning how to manage guests' expectations and how to basically minimize all of the possible responses you could get. So it made me realize the importance of like being super transparent from the jump when you're talking to somebody, so that they know exactly what they're gonna receive.
Yeah, people
you know
like
what I mean?
that.
Yeah, if you're vague in your description or if you're vague in your delivery, and you're kind of just asking, oh, what can I get for you, type things like that, you can expect for there to be a ton of variables.
Yeah.
So seamlessness and quick transactions make for happy customers, happy employees. Happy employees make for good service.
Yes.
So definitely the most important thing, again, is being able to learn how to manage your guests' expectations, giving them all of the information in a quick way, so that they can make a decision quickly. They can, make your life a lot easier. You're not having to like make any like weird, assumptions, predictions, or
For
suggestions.
Sure. Just
you know
ask
what I mean?
them.
Yeah, it's transparency, man. It's like, somebody sits down, you break down a dish for them.
For
like,
sure.
Do it in a way where you're not sitting there long-winded, where it makes sense, and you just have to give people, a true like eye-to-eye service.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like people fuck with you when you like that type of person who like you could just be like, yo, bro, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? This is a situation where like I'm telling you A, B, C, A through Z, whatever you want to know, any questions you have, and there's comfort in that clarity. When I feel like people fear the unknown, and sometimes when you go to a restaurant and it's your first time there, you're a little apprehensive and you don't necessarily understand. So there comes someone like yourself, and that's where your talent and the things that you focus on kind of interject themselves and elevate the experience.
That's 100% true. I mean, that's a pretty regular thing. I think a lot of people fail to understand that some people go out to eat and they're not necessarily like. Not everybody's a foodie, or you know what I'm saying. Some people are very apprehensive about food. Some people are maybe just now trying to get into trying new things or dining out. Dining out is not for everybody. Everybody doesn't always go dine out. That's just not. You know what I mean? And being in that industry and being in hospitality, it's always important to kind of like take those opportunities to like politely educate.
That's crazy. 'Cause I was just thinking about
yeah.
that word, educate.
Ushering people and giving, if you're a server and you notice that, you have a guest that's maybe, a little he's questioning a lot of things on the menu, and you know what I mean? It's important for you to kind of like soften up. You know what I'm saying? Like those type of things. Whereas, if you might have a guest that's pretty, uppity
chill,
and not even chill, like maybe they're just like demanding or whatever, then that's also now your job to tone it down. You know what I'm saying? And just give the service away. It's again, it's a matter of just like learning how to like manage those expectations.
Yeah.
Everybody's a bit different, but transparency is everything, man.
Now that you mentioned that, you can kind of relate cooking food with like helping people in that sense, because when you're in the kitchen, you kind of have to control your temperatures and know when things need to happen and when and where they need to happen and how they need to happen, and that kind of like permeated itself or kind of transition. You were able to kind of make that transition, and just instead of like it being ingredients or like salt and pepper or like onions or whatever the case is, it's like John, who's his 35th birthday. It's like this person, XYZ person, who's coming in for the first time. It's like your host who says, yo, I gotta leave early, or your server who's like, so I think that's pretty cool. Do you feel like that constant like state of like uncertainty kind of like helps you in your job a little bit? It kind of helps you focus more because you need to step it up, or
I mean, it's one of those things you can't ignore it. You know what I'm saying? The uncertainty is always there, it's a high tension, high volatile, highly volatile industry. Like, you don't really know what you're gonna get into every day. Every day is a little bit different, so you'll never really have in the food and bev and like hospitality industry like just like even days.
Yeah.
There's always something gonna happen that you weren't expecting. Um,
Is that what keeps
is
you coming back?
I'm not gonna say that that's what keeps me coming back.
I mean, the money is always good. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
always
I
takes
mean,
care
listen,
of you,
if you do your job well, then there's definitely gonna be money.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I'm thankful for that kind of experience and for that type of learning because it's kept my blade very sharp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good by any means to have that like hovering uncertainty. It could be quite stressful, and if you don't know how to manage that stress and you don't know how to like kind of like shoo it away, it could definitely make your job very, very, very difficult.
That shit could be daunting, bro.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, making things perfect and like having a set schedule and having everything written down, in pen and set in stone is the way that they kind of create their peace of mind at work. And in this industry that's just not it's not realistic. You know what I mean? Unless you work in like a commercial kitchen or something like that. But if you're working in a restaurant, you're working in a bar or something like that, every single day you're gonna run into 30 million things. If you're a GM at a restaurant, you're also an IT tech. You're also HVAC tech. You're also DOH. You know what I'm saying? You're also security.
Yeah.
You're also you don't really know.
You wear a million
never know.
hats, and you
It's
just
straight
kind of
up.
got to keep them in your pocket.
Straight up.
Now, let me ask you this. Obviously, you started from a role where you were being mentored and you were being taught and you were being educated, and that allowed you to become an effective leader, become somebody who's put in a position who is allowed to kind of make executive decisions, based off what it is that the ownership wants of whatever project that you're working on, be that ALD, be that at any other restaurants that you've worked at. What's one thing that you've learned about yourself throughout this process of you becoming a leader?
Oh man, I used to think of myself as a person that didn't have a lot of patience.
Okay.
But I found out that that's not really true. Found out that I actually have infinite patience, and I have a knack for wanting to teach. And I think that's where that patience comes in. The key. I always tell everybody and anywhere that I work is like I have infinite patience for somebody who doesn't know. And if you tell me that you don't know something, then
Let's figure it
that's
out.
great.
Yeah.
Like, cool. You don't know it? Maybe I don't either, but yeah, exactly. We'll figure it out, or maybe I do know a lot about that topic, and I can teach you, and I'll have that patience. But where I don't have patience is when I'm at a job, and I ask somebody, "Oh, do you know such and such?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah.
That's that New York.
And then I turn around and you're like, you're fucking something up. That's where I lose my patience. That's where I don't have patience because, again, like I'm gonna have infinite patience for somebody who doesn't know and is willing to learn.
Yeah.
But I don't have patience for somebody who's got too much of an ego to like dumb themselves down and say, "Listen, I don't know, show me."
And that doesn't help the kitchen. That
It doesn't help anything, yeah.
That doesn't help the process because it's when you're able to recognize or when you're able to know someone's limitations, it allows you to be more effective. Because it puts you in a position where you're like, all right, well, I know I can put A right here, and I know I could put Johnny right here. I know I could put David right here. I know I could put, Alexandra here, and it allows you to kind of like manage it. I see a lot of it as being like a coach on a team and putting people in their positions and having people do what they need to do.
It's funny that you say that because that's kind of how I've always looked at myself in my job roles.
Yeah.
I've always had managerial roles in most jobs I've had, but I've never looked at things as like I'm not trying to be somebody's manager. And being a manager means that somebody's managing everything you do.
Oh my God, I can't stand
and that drives you crazy. I like to be a coach, man. I like to give my people information, support,
and empower
and
them,
everything that they need, and give them an opportunity to do something.
That's fire.
Go out, show me that you can do it. You might show me that you can do it, and then you're going to have to come back and we're going to coach it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if you show me that you can do it, then that's perfect. And I'm going to put the ball in your hand more often. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I've always kind of done, the job. When I if you speak to anybody that I've worked with, and anybody who I've taught anything, you know what I'm saying? they'll all tell you, man. It's like I have nothing but patience for that, and I'm of the mentality that, you know what, if you have a better idea than mine, that's what we're gonna go
Let's
with.
do it. Yeah,
You
that's
know
a
what I
fact,
mean?
bro.
We're gonna do what you're saying, because
And
it's not about my way. You know what I'm saying? It's about
the best way.
the best way. Exactly. You know what I mean?
And I think that that's pretty cool. I think that your experience as someone who's been led, as they say leaders and followers. A lot of people don't understand sometimes the internal fortitude or sometimes the courage that it takes to be a follower. Like people see like a follower, oh, you're just copying whatever that guy does. But it's just like, nah, man, because when you're that type of person who leads and you're that type of person who wants to be great, it's hard for you to take instructions from somebody. It's hard for you to sit there and understand that you're not where you want to be. So I don't think that it takes as much strength to lead as it does, or I don't think that it takes as much strength to follow as it does to lead. But I do believe that requires some sort of like humbling and kind of like that self-awareness to tell yourself like, yo, I don't know it, but I got y'all though.
I can't agree more. You know what I'm saying? And I pride myself on just that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm always the type of person that, like, I'm more than happy to accept responsibility and more of it. You know what I'm
That
saying?
shit
Like,
matters so much,
I
man.
love it. I've always thrived on there. You know what I'm saying? That somebody, if I step into a new job and, the boss would be like, yo, listen, I want to put this in your hands. I'm like, I'm never going to shy away from that.
Nah, man.
I appreciate
You embrace
that. You know what I'm
shit.
saying? I always embrace it. But, like, is nothing more valuable than being able to, like, shut your mouth, listen and learn. I'm still on that type of time always. If I meet somebody and they have more information on subjects than me, if they have more experience than me, then I look at that person not as a peer, but I look at them as, like, I'm their subordinate. You know what I'm saying?
for sure.
I can still, like, you always have to feel that way. They say that when you're working in this industry, specifically, in the kitchen and whatnot, is that you never stop learning. And the minute that you stop learning, that's it. You're done.
stop growing.
You're
Yeah,
done. You know
yeah.
what I mean? You have to, every single day, be open to being wrong. You know what I'm saying? Or not being the smartest person in the room.
That's hard.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I don't like being the smartest person in the room.
Nah,
I'm much rather.
I feel you the same 100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I love nothing more than to be led by somebody who I can feel is
confident
you
in
know
their
what I'm saying,
leadership.
and doing something that I'm, like, impressed by. You know what I'm saying?
Does it piss you off when you have to sit there and learn from somebody who, like, you feel is not an effective leader, or, like, is that something that like because that shit bothers the shit out of me, dog. Like,
there's nothing more, like,
it's disheartening.
Nothing
to me,
hurts
like,
more than having to listen to somebody who is considered your superior and isn't going through the day-to-day with you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've had a lot of jobs where that's the case, and you have to bite your tongue and things like that. But those are the ones that hurt.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that you just, like, you're sitting there, you got the Arthur hand. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
You're like,
for sure.
mad as shit. And,
Shout out that Arthur meme, man.
But, like, again, it's ego death in this thing or nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't have some ego death, you're not gonna make it here, because this is not. I mean, listen, the hospitality, industry is. It's about humility, man. It's about humility, man. If you want to make it in this world, you have to be humble. You have to be, the nicest guy in the world, always. And that's not something that I always felt I was. I always thought I had, like, a little attitude, but nothing has ever, like, nothing good has ever come from me having a smart comment. You know what I'm saying? All the good things happened in my life because, you know what? Maybe I treated that rich guy that was kind of rude really nicely.
Really, yeah. And then you kind of
saying?
built that character through that.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Like, so, transitioning from your experience in hospitality and all this stuff, and you kind of growing within that. I had noticed, during the pandemic, you were very active, within your community. You were doing, you were stepping out and protesting social injustice and something that, obviously it is important to you. It's important to all of us, for us to have the right and to learn to speak out towards social injustice, towards systemic racism, towards all of these things that we kind of ignore on a day-to-day, but it is something that exists. Now, personally, I haven't had the opportunity to thank you in person for that, and I do want to thank you, and from my side, that's a big, it's a big thing of respect in order for, like, you get a lot of respect from me in a sense where it's just like, I appreciate the fact that you went out of your way to make sure, that you were doing what you needed to do for your community, for the people that you grew up with, for the people that you believe in. So talk to me a little bit about, the personal growth that came with you, protesting and kind of just being in the front lines and kind of being a part of that.
Before that, we have a question here.
Yeah, sure.
From Carolina. Do you remember that they are seeing us from Brazil?
Oh, yeah, from Brazil. Yeah, shout out to my fans in Brazil.
She asking what was that moment when Oscar realized that he is on the right track.
All right, yeah. So when let's answer Carolina's question. When did you feel like this is where you needed to be?
There was a day where I remember, like I said, I got home and I called my mother from my restaurant job that I was having a hard time with. The chef just cursed me out. She was like, "You're worthless. You're never gonna be anything." God. And I called my mom. I was like, "Mom, I don't know if I could do this."
Me mandaron a la verga.
Yeah. And my mom was like, "No, calm down, take a breath. Tomorrow is another day." And in that moment, I was like, "No, Mom, that's not what I want to hear."
Yeah.
But after I slept on it, man, and I showed up to work the next day, and I realized that like the only person that can really control anything is myself. That was like a moment that clicked for me, and I was just like, man, you know what? I'm gonna put my head down, and I'm not gonna think about this personally. I'm not gonna take what anybody says, personally. I'm just gonna worry about myself. Man. It's really hard, bro.
That's hard.
It's really hard. But
you build an ego. You kind of not an ego, but you build like this kind of idea of yourself, and for somebody to come and tell you like, well, it's not good enough. Yeah. That shit is like
it's hard, man. It's hard, and. It took me a minute, but like shortly after that, again, I started kind of focusing like a lot more on my work and stopped focusing so much on what was going on in my regular life. And, I started getting a lot more accolades from the chefs.
Respect.
A little bit more responsibility. And I knew that every time I got a little bit more responsibility, that was just another notch in the belt. You know what I mean? And once they let me basically take over like an entire pastry department, that's kind of how I knew. I was like, all right, cool. So like the hard work pays off, the focusing and like keeping your nose down, that stuff pays off. The ego death is important, not taking things personally. That was the big pivot for me.
Oh, that's important, man. So shout out to Carolina for that amazing question.
Stick with it.
Yeah.
Stick with it.
So stay locked in. Por favor, en español te lo digo, enfócate. Va a haber muchas situaciones, muchas circunstancias que la gente van a venir a decirte que no, que tú lo hiciste malísimo, lo que sea, pero no te lleves de eso. Uno tiene que seguir firme y a veces, tú me entiendes, no todos los días son soleados, siempre viene con su chin de lluvia.
That's a fact.
But yeah, bro, like let's talk just to kind of wrap it up, because I did want to get that point across. But like what personal growth or what sense of community, how important is community to you after, obviously before and after the fact that you actually went out and you kind of did like, and you spoke out and you protested and you kind of focused on social injustice?
Yeah, I mean, community is everything, you know what I'm saying? For me specifically, I'm an only child. I never had no brothers, no sisters, nothing like that. So all I have is selected family, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been really fortunate to like have chosen all the people that are close to me very well. No one that I know that I consider family has ever like done anything.
Yeah, ain't never do you dirty.
None, never, not
that's
once.
Fire.
No, and that's
fire, bro.
Thank God for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
I'm
a big
super
blessing,
grateful.
bro.
And
Sure.
And I knew that I had people to thank for that. You know what I'm saying? So it was always important for me to make sure that like, if I had the opportunity to speak up for other people, I wouldn't try and do it. You know what I'm saying? Particularly during that COVID time. I mean, it was just like a no-brainer. I was like, well, I mean, we all cashing a check right now to stay home. Like,
that's
we're not gonna stay
bro.
home. Like, we're gonna go out here and make some noise. You know what I'm saying? And it was sad that like something like that had to happen for some things to
for
change.
people to take stock. I feel like that's the biggest thing that everybody did during the pandemic, was just kind of take stock. Where you are, where you want to be, where do you find yourself? Do you really care about that job?
Right.
Do you really care about this person? What is actually bothering you, man?
Right.
But bro, like, this show was fire, man. I want to thank you for coming out.
I appreciate you having me, bro. Thank you so much,
this shit
man.
was fire, man. We growing and
appreciate you, man.
absolutely, bro.
Yes, sir.
We're here, man. Like I said, now I'm gonna take, obviously I want to give you your time to close out, projects, whatever you got coming out. The stage is yours. Yeah, man, let them know what's up, what you got on the way or whatever it is, man, where they could find you, where they could come check you. Or
Listen, man, right now I am on a road to new discoveries, man. I'm trying to pivot kind of my style of work. I'm trying to create more flexibility in life. So
fire.
Right now I am taking on some consultant gigs.
Yeah,
so,
man.
I'm looking to consult for, I am consulting for a restaurant at the moment. It's a work in progress. I'm taking on some more projects in the same kind of line, I'm really just trying to help the people that I know that deserve to like have their time, how to, facilitate the things that they don't understand. I got a lot of people that are hitting me up and they want to, they want to open a retail spot or they want to open a food and bev spot, and I'm trying to like do whatever I can to make sure that they're not getting hit over the head some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool,
So if
man.
I can continue to like put my hands back into my community and like the people that are like 1 or 2 degrees away from me, then that's just putting the seeds right back into my garden. You
That's
know what
fire,
I'm saying?
bro.
So yeah, man.
That's fire, man. And obviously, I wish you all of the best
Appreciate you,
as
man.
far as success, man. And I personally have seen your growth, for the last 10 to 15 years. And I just want to tell you, I'm proud of you. And I love to see, where you come from and where you're going. And,
Appreciate you,
and
pal.
that shit is so fire, bro. Like, for real, man. Keep being someone who's like, never stop growing. Just personal advice from me: never stop growing, never stop being that person who people want to be around, and never overstay your welcome.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
That's it. I guess that's the
fact.
best. I guess that's the best advice I can give you. That's all we got, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, like, subscribe, comment. Every Tuesday, nosotros estamos aquí todos los martes dando lo mejor de nosotros, obviamente. Esto fue una entrevista que fue algo personal para mí porque es un amigo que yo tengo por más de 10 años de trayectoria y le agradezco a él. Para todos los siguientes, por favor, recuérdense que nosotros no somos nadie sin ustedes. Like, suscriben, comenten y ya ustedes saben, mi gente, nos vemos el martes. No sé cuál martes va a ser, pero nos vemos el martes. Ya.